Hi everybody. So an inaugural Dr. K CBD educational content video with me, Dr. Karen Adasa. Um, this isn't professional medical opinions. This is more about trying to help people balance their lives. So this video is aimed at anybody who potentially has problems sleeping, or for people who are trying to improve their performance, maybe at work, get focused studying, or from a corporate point of view, trying to balance, their work and their home life. Um, Even from a very simple point of view, trying to have better quality time with your kids. Um, if you're not sleeping, then sleep's a big problem in trying to achieve those things. So I'm going to start with setting a scene, and you may fall into one of these kind of patterns. Um, I myself, I work in the NHS. I have done for probably good close to 20, almost nearly 20 years now. Originally in hospital, and then in general practice, and you know, I think people talk about stress, and working at A&E till on a shift pattern till 10 o'clock at night. I can tell you firsthand that you're not going to come home and go to sleep, and it's obvious why. But the important thing is you do have to go to sleep, because obviously you've got to get up next day and then function at a high level again, day after day after day. If you don't sleep, this performance, your ability to perform at work, is going to reduce. You may not meet your goals or targets. And from a personal point of view, same. If I have a late night, if I go for a birthday party or something like that, and then I'm tired the next day, then I'm not as engaged with my kids, and I'm not getting satisfaction from engaging with them, and then their behaviour's going poor, and then goes in a vicious cycle or downward trend. So sleep's really paramount to our functioning, and this isn't surprising really. And so I always use this analogy. If you're having a problem with sleep, then why don't you think about that saying, sleeping like a baby? And babies sleep really well, and we wonder why. But on a really basic level, they are content, they're happy, they're safe, they're secure, and they don't have any worries in their mind. Now, we can't be like that, but there are other things that we can be like. We put children to bed at a certain time, we get them up at a certain time, they have a routine to go to sleep, and some of this is indicating it's not rocket science, it's just human nature, it's how our brains work. Some of these are simple things that we can sort of learn from, that don't need a doctor, just need a little bit introspective look at yourself, and trying to figure out how you can create some of these structures in place for yourself. So the idea here is to promote conversation, have people thinking about the problem, and realizing that sleep is really important. Really, really important. In fact, I'd say it's probably one of the single most important things we need to be healthy and happy. So if you fall into any one of these categories, trying to perform work, commercial, corporate environment, maybe you're a full-time mum, which is harder than going to work, from what I can tell, and you can't unwind, you can't get some sleep, you're tired, you're progressively more tired, then again, these are things that you can help you. Maybe you're training for an endurance event or something, where your sleep is not great because you're training late at night. Again, sleep recovery leads to performance improvements, and it moves on from there. So this could be useful for a number of things. So hopefully stick with me, and we'll see where we can go. It's not going to be the most polished video because it's our first one, but we will see how we get on, and hopefully improve things as time moves on. Okay, let's get started. Right. Okay, so we know sleep's important, but the question is why? Why is it important? Why can't we just work all night and get up in the morning and feel fresh, and just keep going? And why do we need to concentrate at all? I suspect if you're still listening to the video, you probably have some problem that you want to sort of deal with. But if we just keep it really simple, and I use this analogy a lot, you'll find that I use analogies a lot just to simplify concepts, is that we're biologically the same as we were when we were back in hunter-gatherer days. So I always say, like, we're just like slightly more cerebral Neanderthals. So I mean, my wife calls me a Neanderthal all the time, but on a serious note, we are biologically the same as we were back, 1,000 years ago, or essentially, right? So we were designed to get up when the sun rises, go to bed when the sun goes down, hunt and gather throughout the day, do a bit of fire watching in the evening, and then go to sleep and do it again. Okay, we were designed to deal with stress, but those stresses were probably fundamentally more life-threatening than some of the stresses we think about now. And that's probably for another day, a video on anxiety, stress, and how that works. But in a nutshell, sort of acute stress is a fight or flight response, and the idea is that you I don't know, ran out of food, had to go and hunt, got attacked by an animal, weather destroyed your wherever your settlement was, or whatever it might have been, and until you solved that problem, you were stressed. And the idea is your body releases adrenaline and cortisol to improve your performance, and so over short periods of time that works really well. So anyone studying for an exam, getting ready for a athletic performance, a sporting performance, or a commercial corporate performance like a presentation or something, you kind of get stressed beforehand, and actually your productivity goes up in a bell curve. So it improves as your productivity improves while you are stressed. But the idea is it's short-lived, and then at the end of it you're kind of back to a baseline. These days our lives are probably just generally more things in our mind that we perceive as being stressful. So whatever it might be, getting the kids ready, getting to school, little Johnny's got a problem at school, you have a problem at work, someone's not nice to you at work, you have a stressful encounter at Sainsbury's, I don't know, any number of things that we all class as causing stress, and all of those things build up over the day. And so this the way in which we used to function biologically as Neanderthals no longer exists. So we don't live a life of getting up with the sunrise, going to bed with the sun going down. We don't hunt and gather. We don't exercise every day. We mainly sedate. We're using our brains to do our work and to be productive. So we've lost that, but biologically we're the same as we were before. So that's my point in terms of trying to say, well, reflect back on what we're designed to do, and then look at what your life is now, and sort of say, well, actually, we can't get it back to that, or we can't go to fields and hunt and gather all day and get up. Well, we could, I suppose, if we wanted to, but it's not realistic for the majority of us. But if we have a problem with sleep, we have to start looking at our lifestyle primarily to try and help us manage our sleep. So we can reflect back on my original analogy of the baby and on my analogy of the Neanderthal, and apply it to our day-to-day life now, and just sort of look at ourselves and go, well, how can I move to a position where I'm starting to try and find some balance there to improve my sleep. So we've highlighted that the problem is we have these lifestyles that are not akin to where our biology is supposed to be. That's probably the best way to put it, right? So and it can't be. I can't be a GP sitting in a surgery hunting and gathering. So that's the problem. So the problem is we all live these kind of issue or problematic lives, and how we class our problems is relevant, but we all have busy lives, and most of us who probably have problems are pushing quite a lot into our day and not unwinding at night. So whether that, hopefully that sort of sits true with people, and please pop comments and questions below, depending on your particular environment. But I always sort of say you have the ability to make choice. You always have choice. You always have decision making. I choose to live a certain life. I choose to earn or aim to earn a certain income to support a certain lifestyle. And if those choices are leading to ill health, i.e. poor sleep leading to stress, leading to performance problems, then I'm really only fooling myself if I sort of just continuously blame the outside world as to why I'm not healthy. You've got to start from within and then move out to the outside world. Sometimes it's hard decisions. If ultimately I left hospital medicine because shift work and the pressures and all of those things were not akin to what I wanted in terms of stable home life and being able to spend time with my kids and doing all the things I wanted to do. So it was me, like career. and not to blow my horn, but I think I would have had a good career in hospital doing some form of surgery if I stuck with it. It wasn't easy, but ultimately I just looked around and thought, well, I wouldn't do this for the next 12 years and not see my kids grow up. And my answer was no. I'd rather see my kids grow up and spend time with them, because at some point, I'm going to look back and think, well, what if they don't grow up to be how I want them to be, then I can only look at myself and say, well, maybe I didn't support them right. So hopefully, we all can make choices, but those choices need to be thought out and planned. You've got to jump ship, whatever it is, but sometimes you have to make some hard decisions. So this is the problem. We leave lives mainly all over the world where we are just not in keeping with where our biology is. Okay, so what could be? So the idea or hope is that what could be is that we are working, playing, loving, sleeping, everything great, right? So this is what this is the dream, functioning or performing on a high level in whatever capacity that might be, from like looking after your kids to being the best lawyer, corporate lawyer in the world, or banker or financier or whatever it is you do, or doctor or surgeon, right? That's the aim, is to sort of balance all of these things out. So hopefully I can support some of that process, and then the reality is then people have to go away and try and pick this up themselves, or get someone to coach them through this, because you can talk about these things forever, but you can't really. Everyone's so individual, which is the amazing thing about us all. But our circumstances, our finances, our mental sort of processes are so individual that what is right for one person is not the right solution for someone else. It just won't work. So we need to find solutions that are achievable, sustainable, and realistic. Yeah. So and I can go into that over another video, but this is a really basic concept of any kind of behaviour change. I believe it has to have those three core aspects to succeed. So that's what could be, and then the question is, what is this? How do we achieve this? So let's keep this broad. I don't want to be prescriptive over things, and people will have looked up this concept, sleep hygiene. What is sleep hygiene? So again, Google it. There'll be a bunch of stuff there. This isn't exhaustive, but sleep hygiene is a number of measures that are supposed to help promote sleep. So we've all heard about blue light and switching your phones off, and putting them away, and not watching Netflix till the moment you want to go to bed, things like that. But even more basic concepts like not having a TV in your bedroom. Your mind is this amazing thing, right? And actually, it needs a bedroom. It needs to associate your bedroom with sleep. That might sound ridiculous. Obviously, other things may happen in your bedroom as well, but generally speaking, you're sleeping in your bedroom. So if you put a TV in there, have your video game console in there, I don't know, do work regularly in your bed on your laptop, your brain disassociates that space with sleeping. So it's a bizarre thing to think, and your brain is the most powerful thing in your body, but your brain will over time just think, well, this is another place where I work, this is another place where I watch TV, this isn't a place where I segue into sleep. And that word segue is probably relevant, because it's like you go from day, Neanderthal man, hunting, gathering, segue, return home to village, camp, whatever, which is us returning home. Firewatch, is that TV watching? Is that whatever you do to pass that time in the evening, which is sort of, you're not really watching, it's on, like, you're watching the trash, no judgment, but the trash is kind of fire watching. It's like you're not engaging with it, it's just there processing, and men all over the world are obsessed with sitting by a barbecue or a fireplace and having a beer and drinking, but that is just our Neanderthal personalities coming out, and it's part of what helps you unwind. So, but there was no digital technology back then, so we've got to create a place in the bedroom which is neat, tidy, conducive to sleep, and associated with sleep. So that's something which is something to work on or think about. Then all the other sleep hygiene measures come into play. Switching the phones off, reading a book. Sometimes people use sleep yoga, like yoga, which is just pretty quite calming, relaxing, and it's about sort of switching those things off and switching off, especially those people who get those pings on the phone from work. I always say, like, unless you're literally expected to go into work at night, or you're on call, or you've got to do something, there is literally no benefit to you checking a stressful email in the night just to worry about it overnight till the morning. Any workplace that's doing that needs to have a better policy. I'm not saying every workplace is perfect, you've got to balance it yourself, but unless you're in a particular position where you absolutely have to be checking, you're better off having a work phone away from your personal phone and switching it off and putting it in a drawer, and literally that way people aren't used to you checking. If you check, they'll think you're checking, and they'll continue to send you stuff and phone you up and whatnot. So create an environment in your bedroom that's conducive to sleep. Utilize different things to segue you into sleep, and think about how you can do that. So that helps hopefully a little bit, or gets you thinking. Again, time. Always got to go to bed at the same time. You can't be going to bed earlier or later than that time. You want to train your brain to switch off at a certain time. And by doing that, a bit like the baby scenario, that baby knows at this time. They don't know the time. Obviously, they don't know the time. The brain gets the time, and the brain goes, it's 7 o'clock. It's time for bed. And then you have that little sleep pattern. And anyone who's got kids knows this. You have to kind of read them the book, give them the milk, tuck them in, give them a kiss, sing them a song, then they go to bed. And it's programmed, right? And then if you miss that window and you go out and you come back late, everyone knows how nightmarish they can be, right? And your brain's the same thing. You'll have a window. Now, I can break that window, so I get tired around 10. If I switch on my computer and start doing some research, whatever, with the blue light on the computer, I can stay up till 2 in the morning. My wife will tell you, there are periods of time where I'm sleeping like 3-4 hours a day, but there are periods where I do that, and then I have to recover. So I'm not saying you have to do this every day, but you need to have a pattern to have good sleep. So bedtime, you need to set a time and have a little segue period, 20 minutes, half an hour, and then get to bed at a certain time and try and do that regularly. And this doesn't happen overnight. This happens over time. You have to train your brain to do these things, right? On top of that, things like exercise, hydration, nutrition, caffeine, a number of people I speak to. The other day, I spoke to someone about a problem they had, and they were having 30 cups of coffee a day. 30 cups? How is it's affecting their gut, their blood pressure, absolutely everything. The caffeine in there is ridiculous. I remember someone who was drinking 2 litres of Coke a day. It's just bizarre what we end up doing. But obviously, simple things are simple. Look at your diet, look at your nutrition. Exercise is paramount. We're designed to be tired physically by the time we go to bed. So even 20 minutes of exercise a day, something, right? And almost everyone, if they have the support of a partner or if they're living on their own or whatever, can factor in some exercise. I should reference some Arnold Schwarzenegger thing about he did like a long time ago, a speech where he talks about how when people say they don't have time to do a bit of exercise, and he ridicules this concept that in 24 hours you can't do 20 minutes of exercise. And I get it and I don't get it. Like, I have been busy and you don't always exercise. You shouldn't judge yourself. You can't get a chance to do it. Sometimes you just don't feel up to it. But generally speaking, you've got a sleep problem and you've got a sleep problem that needs something doing about. You need to put a bit of effort in. So that might mean having to do some exercise regularly. Drinking, eating, avoiding caffeine after 12 or 4 or 3 or whatever it might be. Drinking plenty of water, 2 litres a day. That doesn't, of water is really important. Just so our body's functioning, and then bedtime, segue or sleep routine, sleep, and these things should help. These are things that over time should help. And in theory, if you went to bed at 10, you might be able to get up at 5 and be so productive, right? And then those early morning hours when the sun's coming up, if you can get to a point where those people who don't have kids and things like that, if you guys can start getting up at 5:30. I know there's a whole movement towards it, but I'm telling you that productivity in the morning is so much more productive. If nothing else, go out in your garden, go out into nature. Like, it just will be inspiring, and you will feel better for it. Something that I definitely agree with is that, again, going back to my Neanderthal metaphor, they were in nature the whole time. It's so good for our mental health. Fresh air, early morning air. There's something about it. Depends on how you access it. But I mean, I play golf hardly ever these days. But if I go early morning golf, it's amazing once you're there. Used to go open water swimming, 5 o'clock start, freezing cold water. But oh wow, you felt invigorated by the end of that. So all these things can really, really help. So I think it's a good starting place, and I think that's, if I was to urge anyone, I'd say look at these things simply, make small increment 1% changes every week, and try and get your sleep better, because you will definitely thank yourself for it. When you get there, the reward, you'll be happier, you'll have more energy, you'll have more ability to function and be more competitive or able to. Other than that, any problems, put them in the comment below. We're happy to help. We're a brand that really treats our customers like patients. You may find that you want to ask about the role of CBD in sleep and things like that, and that's been well documented, and people utilize it, but it's not going to be for everybody. And again, like, you want to be doing these things, and this is what I firmly believe, is that just like if someone comes into me and wants a sleeping tablet, give them a sleeping tablet, but I'm telling them all of this and saying, look, use this alongside this, and then get off the sleeping tablet. And maybe you're using the sleeping tablet where it's the worst stage. The sleeping tablets are addictive, they're artificial, not like a natural product which you can just use and not use. So, this is really about more getting you to do the things, because if you don't do these things I've just talked about, no product in the world is going to help you that well, because you're just going to be too wired or switched on. Okay, so hopefully as an inaugural video that was of some help. Pop the comments in below, subscribe, and I'll be creating more information on this as time goes on. I'll go into more detail, but as a general introduction to sleep problems. I hope that's been of some use. Bye.